Good morning, TPS students. It is testing week, and it's time to slay all day.
Yeet! Stay woke, be on fleek, and get that Gucci breakfast.
Goals. Say bye, Felicia, to that testing stress. Weather's going to be turned, right, Chris?
Yes! Toledo weather going to be V-lit during testing week. A hundo P chance of success. You've got this, kids. Steve, how about that traffic? Are we looking
better than we're talking turn. FOMO won't be an issue. No traffic problems around any TPS schools to keep you from taking those tests.
So get a good night's sleep, do your best, in fact, be extra, extra.
We here at WTOL are V proud of you.
Good luck on your test, TPS students.
She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, I talk about the things that I talk about, not to harp on the negative, but so that we can truly understand the situation we are in. We've been systematically attacked for hundreds of years. The brutality we face is just the obvious part of it. But we are attacked in every aspect of our lives. The worst thing that happened to us was being stripped of knowledge of self, right down to the diet we're supposed to have. Our leading cause of death is things like diabetes, heart disease. Most times we die from diseases like that. They force us to send our kids to their schools. And then they say they're not allowed in the school if they don't get a shot. These are the people that in the past on a mass level have raped our children. They have beat them, tortured them, murdered them, treated them worse than animals. In the 1800s, they would have never done to dogs what they did to us. But today, we send our children to the same people to get an education. They're never going to teach our children who they are, their history, and the potential they actually have. They teach their children how to make others work for them. They teach our children how to perform voluntary servitude. And after hundreds of years, it definitely affects you mentally. But we don't have institutions to deal with the mental illness in our community. And when people in our community are having mental issues, they have nobody they can call. Far too many times they try to call the police. But more times than not, the police are more dangerous than anything else. In Las Vegas, a brother, Tashii Farmer, he tried to go to the police for help and he ended up getting choked to death.
Stop! Don't move! You're in tased! Taser! Don't move! Don't move! Stop right there! Get on your stomach! Get on your stomach! I will! Control me, each one. Give me red. Don't move me! Go on your stomach! Get 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 on your stomach! Do it now! Okay, sir. Get on your stomach! I will. Stop! You didn't get it again! You didn't get it! Help me out! No. Turn around. Down! Okay, sir. Okay. Turn around! Don't move! Okay. Down! On your back! Hands on your stomach! Right there! Get on your stomach! Get on your stomach! Here, give me your hand. Get on your stomach! Get on your stomach! Get on your stomach! You see your hands! Get your hands behind your back!
Due to the coroner's findings and an investigation conducted by the Force Investigation Team and consultation with the District Attorney's Office, Officer Lopera will be charged with involuntary manslaughter
Breaking right now, our first look at the booking photo of a Metro police officer being charged with involuntary manslaughter tonight.
It happened last month outside the Venetian, and in the video you can see Tashii Farmer being tased and restrained by Officer Kenneth Lopera. 13 Action News reporter Masa Saidi is live at Metro headquarters with the latest developments tonight. Masa.
Steve, Tricia, that officer has been with Metro for 5 years. We just got that booking photo, so now we know he has been taken into custody, and right now he is being processed for 2 level D felonies, partly because of this. You mentioned it. That incident back on May 14th was captured on multiple cameras. You're looking at the officer's body dash cam video, very dramatic. There was also surveillance outside the Venetian, but the sheriff said today there was also witness statements and the findings of the coroner. This was new today. The coroner finding the cause of death to be asphyxia due to police restraint procedures. Remember, that was the big issue here. Did the officer's neck hold cause the death of Tashii Farmer? The coroner today, about 2 hours ago, said yes. Contributing factors we want to mention. The coroner also said there was meth in Farmer's system, and he also had an enlarged heart. Again, the 2 charges are involuntary manslaughter and oppression under the color of office. Both carry a minimum of 1 year, maximum of 4 years. The judge could sentence them back to back or not. The sheriff refused to take any questions today because he said the investigation is ongoing.
Now, this brother Tashii Farmer approached 2 cops. He was sweating, panicking, and he was saying that somebody was chasing him. Then when the cops started approaching him, he started backing up. And when he realized they weren't going to help him, he took off running. Now, when this cop, Officer Kenneth Lopera, caught up with him, he said he was trying to open the tailgate of a truck. He was trying to say he thought this brother Tashii Farmer was about to carjack somebody. But even the guy in the car said he never felt threatened. And now the police and the media are trying to present it like this was a car theft, when in reality, he approached the cops for help. So then the cop, Kenneth Lopera, started tasing him, and he ended up tasing him 7 times. This brother was begging him to stop, but he wouldn't even give him time to comply with what he was telling him to do. He just kept tasing him over and over. Then he got on top of him and started to punch him multiple times in the face, with another cop trying to hold him down at the same time. Then the cop, Kenneth Lopera, ended up doing an illegal chokehold. He was choking his brother for over a minute until he realized he was unconscious and he wasn't breathing. This brother Tashii Farmer approached the cop, and within an hour, he was dead. Now, I don't know what was going on with the brother, but he never committed a crime. But they tried to portray him as a car thief. Then, after an independent coroner ruled his death a homicide due to asphyxiation, and then he ended up getting charged with involuntary manslaughter. But even though he was charged, a grand jury still decided not to indict him.
One court decision could be vindication for an officer after a choking death outside a strip casino. A grand jury decided not to indict Kenneth Lopera, who used an unapproved hold. Thank you for joining us. I'm Marie Mortera.
And I'm Jim Snyder. That deadly confrontation unfolded in front of the Venetian Resort last year. News 3's Nathan O'Neill has our top story. He's been tracking this case from the very beginning.
Stop! Don't move! You're in case!
A deadly encounter at the Venetian. An unarmed man and a Metro officer.
Okay, sir. Okay, turn around. Don't move!
Tashii Farmer Brown is punched in the face, tased 7 times, and put in an unapproved chokehold for more than a minute. In less than an hour, Tashii is dead.
Everything just went crazy, and they killed my boy.
Last year, Officer Kenneth Lopera was charged with involuntary manslaughter, but the case was sent to a grand jury, which routinely meets in secret, and decided not to indict the officer in question.
He never had intent to kill the subject involved in this case.
For the now retired officer, it's a step toward vindication. The police union representing him even offered up witnesses to contradict the coroner's ruling, which found Tashii died of asphyxiation from being restrained by police.
We presented 2 medical experts from the University of California, San Diego, and they concluded that the decedent died of cardiac arrest.
The ACLU calling it a travesty of justice.
Tashii Farmer was breathing and was alive before he came into contact with Officer Lopera.
Attorney Andre Lagomarsino represents Tashii's mother.
You have a killing that is completely on video that shows a defenseless man with his hands up who was choked to death and no accountability at all.
And Tashii's family has filed civil lawsuits and intends to ask the FBI to seek federal charges. Meanwhile, it's still unclear what the district attorney will do with the pending case against Lopera in district court. So far, our calls to the DA have not been returned.
Martial arts legend has testified before a grand jury looking into the death of a man in police Metro custody. Renowned cage fighter Frank Mir was enlisted by the team defending former Metro officer Kenneth Lopera. Lopera was charged with involuntary manslaughter in the death of Tashii Farmer, who died last May after being placed in a neck hold by Lopera. Mir's testimony before the grand jury is secret, but before he testified, he reviewed videos of the scuffle. Lopera's union believes that Farmer died from a combination of factors, including an enlarged heart, drugs in his system, and the stress of the struggle with Lopera.
Now, in a secret grand jury meeting, an unnamed grand jury decided not to indict this cop on any charges. They said this cop, Kenneth Lopera, wasn't at fault because he had an enlarged heart and had meth in his system. Despite there being video evidence of him clearly choking him out. Don't believe what your eyes tell you, just believe what they say. Him choking him until he passed out and never waking up again had nothing to do with him dying. The police union even brought in their own medical examiner. And he said the independent coroner got it wrong. He didn't die of asphyxiation. He died of cardiac arrest. But the police unions will get on code to protect their own no matter what. They learn a valuable lesson about being on code and not throwing each other under the bus. They understand it helps them maintain power. Being on code with others, being on the same wavelength, gives whatever you have in mind more power. And if they can keep us divided while they stay on code, they can stay in power. And then they can tell you with a straight face he died from meth, not from being choked out. Because what are you going to do about it? Even though if he did die from cardiac arrest, it came from what the cops did to him. But it doesn't matter what happened. At the end of the day, it's always your fault.
Kenneth Lopera, this is a Metro officer accused of involuntary manslaughter, a case that made national news, in part, I think, because of a national sensitivity to issues of police violence. So where does this thing stand?
The district attorney presented the case to the grand jury. We were allowed to present defense witnesses. I wasn't inside the grand jury room. I can't talk about, what happened there, but I can tell you what our experts said. And we brought in medical experts from University of California, San Diego, and they said that Ken Lopera did not kill the decedent. The medical examiner said that the decedent died of asphyxia, lack of oxygen. Our experts said that there are no petechial hemorrhages in the eyes, which are signs of asphyxiation. The trachea was intact. There was no damage to the trachea, no damage to the hyoid bone. However, this guy had an enlarged heart from years of drug use, and he had a bunch of methamphetamine, and so our experts said that he died as a result of a cardiac arrest from fighting with the police.
A lot of what you're dealing with is optics. That he tased the guy 6 or 7 times, and there was a chokehold that was allegedly illegal, and that's where the sensitivity comes from. Would you agree?
No use of force looks good on video, but we had experts who came in and said that he did not use excessive force based upon the standard that the U.S. Supreme Court has given us. Frank Mir, a UFC fighter, came in and said that this was not an oxygen choke where he couldn't breathe anymore. And he said, there's a reason why UFC fighters aren't allowed to use controlled substances. It's not because they're the morality police, but they don't want a fighter dying in the ring.
So where does it go? What's next in this case?
Well, the district attorney, after hearing the evidence, decided to send the case file out to an independent expert to take a look at this. And so Force Science Institute, which is located back east, has a number of experts who look at use of force cases, and they are going to render an opinion, and then the DA will make his decision on whether to allow the grand jury to return deliberate on the case.
You look nationally, it's difficult for juries to vote against or to vote to put a police officer in prison for doing their job or things that happen in the course of their job.
Sure. As you stated, I'm a former district attorney. I was a prosecutor for 25 years. We prosecuted police officers, but there are two things at play, especially in this case. First, John Q. Public wants to give police officers some deference. They understand that they have a difficult job to do. And so those jurors, want to see more evidence. But in addition, and you know, this is a personal problem that I have with prosecutors around the country. I think they do the public a disservice. They charge these police officers and they let juries or judges make the decision, and you know, there are acquittals around the country. And John Q. Public says, I watched this on TV, how can that possibly be? There is a difference between a civil standard in using excessive force and criminal charges. In criminal charges, you have to show criminal intent. And there are very few police officers who put on the badge, put on the uniform, and intend to go out and use excessive force that day.
Now, you had the police union, the DA, all caping for this cop. They even tried to bring an MMA fighter, Frank Mir, to testify, just to say that chokehold wouldn't have killed him. They didn't tell him to shut up and wrestle. They brought him into a grand jury to testify, even though he had nothing to do with it. And of course, as this DA puts it, John Q. Public, the average person in the dominant society capes for these cops. But our lives are not up for debate. It's disrespectful to debate whether one of us got murdered or not. If that's how you feel, we just don't need to be around each other. But instead, too many of us want to educate everybody else when they understand it better than you. They created this system. That's why we need to create our own system where we are protected. We are far too quick to want to forgive everybody when they didn't even want our forgiveness in the first place. They tell us and show us every day how they feel, and we fight to be a part of it. This same system that made people kill their babies so they wouldn't have to grow up in it. But this is why it's important to understand our history, so we don't continue to make the same mistakes over and over. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Our ancestors left us the blueprint. But what we have to learn is how to protect the things that we do build, how to protect each other, how to get on code. Every other group has infighting, but when it comes to us, they get on code. And when we are on code, it doesn't matter what anybody else does. We cannot be stopped. And once we realize we're all we got and stop falling for the illusion of inclusion, then we'll be back on code again.
Police department. Go and set the TV down, man. Set that TV down. I just bought this house. You just bought this house and you're moving in at 4 in the morning? I'm moving in. All right, go and set that TV down. All right. Set it down. Can you give me a hand? Set it down. You got your paperwork, man? Yeah. Hold on. Is there anybody else here? No, I'm by myself. Okay, go and stay over there. I got backup coming. We're going to talk to you in just a minute, all right? You got guns, knives, or anything like that? When did you buy the house? Last month. All right. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go over there by the side of this house here. I'm gonna just gonna put your hands up on the side of the house for me, okay? I'm gonna come over and check you for weapons. Okay. You ain't got anything on you, do you? Just my wallet, my keys, and stuff. Okay. Okay. Go and place your hand on top of your head for me.
Yeah, everything's good,
yeah,
man.
Good. Do you understand why I did that? I understand it's not comfortable, but given that we had all those break-ins and whatnot recently, when you see somebody moving
out here,
yeah, here in Tonganoxie, here just last weekend we had a whole bunch.
Oh, great! Right when I'm just that's real comforting to know.
So
as long as
I apologize, but
I understand.
If you look at the situation, I think you know you get it.
Well, anyways, keep your car locked and all that, and you won't be a victim of a burglary and all that.
Chicago police raid the wrong home again, this time during a young child's birthday party. CBS 2 investigator Dave Savini continues his months-long investigation into wrong raids.
What was the first thing you saw?
Guns. Samari Boswell says her little brother TJ was turning 4 and having a birthday party the night the siblings suddenly had guns pointed at them.
How were they holding them?
Like this. The 7-year-old was playing with her brother and cousins and awaiting a slice of this birthday cake when Chicago police burst in to raid their home. They were saying F words and stuff. It was horrible. Horrible and unnecessary because they say the person they had a warrant for, suspected of possessing the drug ecstasy, hadn't lived in the building in 5 years.
Were they all pointing guns?
Oh. The CBS 2 investigators found this security video taken from a building next door. you can see 17 officers head to the family's home.
All I heard was steps of like shoes coming down the stairs hard and saying, "Get your hands up."
Kiana Jackson, the kid's aunt, said the raid went on for about 40 minutes and police refused to show them a warrant.
I asked for a search warrant, I guess one too many times, and he was like, "Arrest her."
CPD's own search warrant policy says warrants need to be turned over promptly.
They manhandled me. It took 2 officers to get the cuffs on me.
I thought they was gonna shoot me and my brother and everybody else.
Samari and TJ's mom was in tears over how frightening that night was for everyone, especially the kids.
It's just like emotional for my daughter to fully understand and feel the way she feels at just 7 years old.
So how often do wrong raids happen? Seems to be a tightly guarded secret at Chicago Police Headquarters. We've been asking for the numbers for the last 5 months, but on our own, we've tracked down at least a dozen cases over the last 18 months.
We do everything we can to ensure that we are targeting the right location.
Chicago Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson is talking about bad raids and bad warrants, but he won't tell us how often it happens. Wrong raids like this one captured on police body cameras. Our CBS 2 investigators obtained the video and broke the story of this wrong raid on the Mendez family's apartment. Guns pointed at the family, and an innocent Gilbert Mendez cuffed in front of his children, Jack and Peter, who were traumatized.
This is the saddest moment.
We try to provide the officers all the training we can to ensure that that type of thing doesn't happen.
But it is happening repeatedly.
So you could have been killed that night.
I could have been killed.
Sharnia Phillips says a bad warrant led to her home being raided and guns pointed at her. This family said the same thing happened to them too.
Where did they point the rifle?
Around. If he hadn't moved or tripped or anything, who's to say what the cop would have done?
Officers terrorized a totally innocent family.
And now today, the Tate family is also suing the city for their wrong raid.
We do everything we can, but we're not perfect.
For months now, his department has failed to turn over bad search warrant information, including a list to CBS 2 of all the wrong raids police performed.
We're human. Sometimes we make mistakes.
He gave us the wrong apartment. He gave us the wrong apartment.
In the Mendez case, police were also caught continuing to search even after they realized they got it wrong.
He gave us the wrong apartment.
And listen here as they even joke about their screw-up.
What's up, dude? Bad. Hey, just throw a party for me.
No, it's not. You signed off on it.
Huh?
You signed off on it.
Hey.
Are you tracking them? Do you know how many times they get it wrong?
Yeah, we look at it.
Do you have actual numbers?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but we do have it.
Because we've been asking for numbers.
But he doesn't answer and just turns his head.
They live upstairs.
Meanwhile, wrong raid allegations keep surfacing.
And I was just terrified. I was very much humiliated.
Since the city has yet to comply with our Freedom of Information requests involving bad warrants, we have now gone to the Attorney General for help in getting the city to turn them over. The tips keep coming in. More people called the CBS 2 investigators today, accusing police of more bad raids.
And there's been a development as far as COPA goes as well, right?
We know now that COPA is involved. They're asking questions about the videos, and I believe they are getting the videos right now.
Unbelievable, though, the superintendent just turns his head when you're trying to get answers.
He never let me I never got the chance to follow up the question.
Yeah.
But they know we've been asking for this stuff, and they haven't given it to us.
Stay on top of it.
I'm sure we all know what occurred this morning. My personal opinion is that you all know where I stand on this. Do I think justice was served? No. Where do I think justice is? I think this city is still owed an apology. I've heard that they wanted their day in court with TV cameras so America could know the truth, but no, they chose to hide behind secrecy and broker a deal to circumvent the judicial system. But again, at the end of the day, it's Mr. Smollett who committed this hoax, period. If he wanted to clear his name, the way to do that was in a court of law so that everyone could see the evidence. You all know what the bond proffer said. You know, we all know what it said. So, you know, I stand by the facts of what we produced. If they want to dispute those facts, then the place to do that is in court, not secrecy.
This is a whitewash of justice. A grand jury could not have been clearer. Mr. Smollett is still saying that he is innocent, still running down the Chicago Police Department. How dare him? How dare him? After everybody saw, and I want to remind you, this is not the superintendent's word against his. The grand jury, a sliver of the evidence, and they came to a conclusion, as did the state's attorney's office. This is not the superintendent and the detectives department word against his. And even after this whitewash, still no sense of ownership of what he's done. He says that, in fact, he is the wronged in this case. This is an unbelievable, not just whitewash of justice, this is a person now who's been let off scot-free with no sense of accountability of the moral and ethical wrong of his actions. From top to bottom, not only besmirching the name of the city, but then I cannot stress that in a time when you have people bringing a moral equivalency in Virginia between bigots and those fighting bigotry, then you have a person using hate crime laws that are on the books to protect people who are minorities from violence, to then turn around and use those laws to advance your career and your financial reward? Is there no decency in this man?
Lied to his mom. He left his teammates hanging while he skedaddled. He embellished some details. No, he lied. No,
some details?
There was no robbery. There was no pullover. There was nothing. Nobody
there was no
cocked a gun to his head.
Hold on.
He lied.
Okay, calm down. Listen, if the security guard is standing in front of you,
he lied.
Sure, he embellished.
No.
Money unwillingly came out of his pocket.
They were knocked out. He said their car was hit.
That's not true. Gun to the head is a dirty Harry moment. That didn't happen. They weren't sideswiped.
So he created all of these moments to make himself look like, I've stared them down in the face. It was, like you said, the Dirty Harry moment. I mean, come on.
Look, these are kids traveling abroad. They're great athletes. They're great swimmers. We don't want an apology from them.
We agree to disagree.
No, I'm just saying. We talk about there's video of vandalism. We haven't seen the video of the vandalism in there. Keir Simmons did a piece this morning. Right. Took them in there. There's nothing damaged in the bathroom.
Take my cotton, bitch. Take my cotton, bitch. Well, you're not using the right words. Take my... Wait, get a video of it. Pick my cotton, nigger.
Right now, the University of Georgia is investigating a video where students are seen joking about beating slaves. You see it right there.
Yeah, tonight that video is going viral, exploding on social media. CBS 46's Yasmina Alston live in Athens. Yasmina, those students are actually part of a fraternity.
Mike, that's right. Those students are part of Tau Kappa Epsilon here at the University of Georgia. The video shows them laughing about beating black people and also using a racial slur. That video, of course, has many on this campus upset. It's a short video that's made its way around social media and the University of Georgia. It shows some members of Tau Kappa Epsilon mocking slavery and using racial slurs. You see one student using what appears to be a belt to hit another student while laughing and saying, quote, "I'm not black." The video is upsetting many on this campus.
Being a black student here on campus, I go to the law school here. And especially given the history of slavery, especially on this campus, slaves built this campus, and so it's very disturbing to me to see that type of stuff, and I hope the university takes it seriously.
Video, you hear profanity and one of the students using a racial slur.
Pick my cotton.
A university spokesperson says they are aware of the video, and the university condemns racism in the strongest terms. The fraternity has also taken action by temporarily suspending the university's chapter.
Poor representation of all the students that go here, because I would like to think it's a minority that think like that. So it's just a bad reflection on us, and I hope they're severely punished.
And the men in that video are currently unidentified. But again, the university is investigating to try to figure out who they are, and that fraternity is temporarily suspended, effective immediately.
Coverage you can count on begins with an incident unfolding at the University of Georgia involving a former local baseball star. News Channel 6's Devin Johnson is in the studio, and he has more with the latest. Devin.
A former Greenbrier High School baseball player is being accused of shouting racial slurs at a football game after a student posted her concerns on Facebook. University of Georgia is investigating that story now. A Facebook post that is gaining attention. A student at the University of Georgia writes, "Today at the game, there was a guy sitting near my friends and I that decided to yell out, 'Put that racial slur in the game.' Multiple reports say the person the student was referring to is Adam Sasser, a first baseman for the Georgia baseball team and a graduate of Greenbrier High School. He's being accused of shouting racial slurs to quarterback Justin Fields.
We've been raised being told that it's okay for certain people to say this word in certain circumstances, and it shouldn't be used at all."
Alexis Bigden Hunt believes Sasser's alleged comments does not represent the river region as a whole. Another person I spoke with told me she believes the university should figure out why whoever said it did what they did.
I think maybe we should explore on why he feel like this was appropriate for him to say those things, and especially in the environment they were in, that needs to be explored as to why he felt that way.
In a statement from UGA's head baseball coach, Scott Strickland says, "I expect every member of our team to behave at all times in a way that upholds the highest standards and values of the University of Georgia, and it's disappointing when that doesn't happen." The University of Equal Opportunity office is heading the investigation. Georgia's football coach, Kirby Smart, addressed the situation when asked about it in his weekly press conference.
Trying to build a program on tolerance and mutual respect. And you can't control what other people say, but the expectation is that people are part of our program and attending our games share the same beliefs that we do. It's sad that something like this would happen.
Both Carnard and Bigden Hunt believe whoever said the comment should get a second chance.
I don't think you should ruin a kid's life over it, but if this is an ongoing thing, whatever punishment you gave the other people, you should definitely have that punishment.
I do think he should have to go through some sort of educational reprocessing to learn what his actions mean and how they're wrong.
The director of athletics, Greg McCarty, released a statement reading, "We're aware of the reported incident involving this weekend conducted by one of our student athletes. While we are limited what we can say about the incident at this time, I want to reemphasize that we do not cannot condone discriminatory behavior. The university's Equal Opportunity Office reviews all reported violations of our non-discrimination and anti-harassment policy to ensure appropriate response."
Am I a fucking fat bitch? I think yes. I know fat bitch. I guess you fucking moron. Get it. No. Fuck you, you cunt. You cunt, bitch. Bow down when you call me names, bitch. Blow me, bitch! Blow me, bitch! Get the fuck out! Damn it! Hey, look! When you take your little white trash drunk ass out of here, remember which way to go. That way. Hey, bro! I'm not your bro, motherfucker! I'm not your fucker! Oh, I'm scared now, bitch! Your ass ain't done nothing but talk! Okay.
Alright!
Like I said!
You else 8 Mile, bro!
I'll shoot your bitch ass! Oh, I'm scared now! You gotta go to 8 Mile to get it, bitch?
No, bro, how would you come out of water when there ain't no too much movement?
Oh, listen to you shit talking. Listen to you talking your shit. You only get brave on that side?
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck what side it is, you dumbass! You're so stupid.
All right, and we back on the forecast. Now, it's important that we really start understanding warfare. Not just physical warfare, but psychological warfare. That's why no matter what the situation is, they try to make you look like the criminal and make themselves look like the victim. That's why they can say the kind of things about slavery that they say today. They really think they did a good thing, because if not, we'd be in Africa somewhere praying to a tree. And if you tell yourself that enough times, over time, you start to believe it. And even some of us start to believe it. This system didn't get this way overnight. It was built over hundreds of years. And understand, every step of the way, we've been fighting back. But a system like this doesn't survive unless a majority of people agree with it. It's the average citizen that they deputize. Every time our communities were physically attacked and burned to the ground and many people killed, it was the poor white class, not the elite. Far too many of them believe the lowest white man is over the highest black man. This the way society was built. One of the most dangerous laws ever passed in America, the Fugitive Slave Act. One of the first laws America passed. The Fugitive Slave Act of 1793 is in the Constitution. And this gave average white citizens the power to go into other states to go catch people who escaped slavery. Mind you, this was right after the Revolutionary War, when they gave black people freedom in many of the states that begged for black soldiers to help them fight. George Washington turned right around and got this law passed. And this law made it dangerous for every black person, because at any time somebody can just kidnap you and then sell you off into slavery somewhere down south. So many people were being kidnapped, they had to pass laws against it. They would take men, women, children, it didn't matter. And then in 1850, they doubled down on the Fugitive Slave Act. Now if somebody was accused of being a runaway, they didn't even get a fair trial, if they got a trial at all. They paid judges $10 for every person they said was a slave and $5 for every person they said wasn't. Being black in America has always been criminalized. It doesn't matter what you do. And now today, something as simple as driving without a seatbelt can get you shot. In Kansas, a brother, Akira Lewis, was pulled over for driving without a seatbelt and ended up getting shot in the back. So let's see how a simple traffic stop can end up with this brother getting shot.
Hello, sir. Yeah. I'm Officer McCann, Lawrence Police Department. The reason I stopped you, not wearing your seatbelt, okay?
Man.
Hey, man. Stop. Stop.
I'm moving, my family homeless. I'm trying to go to fucking work at 6. You gonna stop me for a fucking seatbelt?
If you would like to make a complaint after that, you're more than welcome to do so. Hey, but I'm not going to stand out here and have court with you and have an argument with you on the side of the road. I need your driver's license and your insurance card.
Get the fuck out my face, man. I'm telling you, bye. I'm already hot. I'm pissed off. Been a long bad day.
I don't want to make the situation any worse than it has to be.
You doing that right now.
You're about to go to jail for a seatbelt violation. Are you really wanting to do that? You could give me your driver's license, I could write you your ticket, and you could drive home.
I haven't done nothing.
You're not wearing your
seatbelt. You just stopped the motherfuckers in front of me for a fucking seatbelt.
I don't care about them right now. I care about you. I can't stop every car on the road.
Let me tell you something. You didn't stop them for a fucking seatbelt, but you're going to turn around behind me and try to pop me for a fucking seatbelt?
Sir, I can only stop one
all the
car at a
motherfuckers
time.
You were looking at coming down the motherfucking line right there,
I was
man.
not.
Get on with that shit.
Okay.
You fucking my day up. That's what you're doing.
He's going to jail.
How you doing?
Okay.
No, I'm not.
You are.
Don't touch my vehicle. Not have a right.
I need you to step out. Step out. Give me your hands. Step out. Hey, don't make this. Don't make this.
Don't talk to me. I want to talk to your motherfucker.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
I'm going to knock you in your mother.
Get out of the car.
I'm not getting out of this car.
Get out of the car.
I'm not.
Get out of the
Please
car.
stop, man.
Sir?
You're messing up my kids' stuff. Please.
672 starts more units.
No. No. Listen. You came up here and you ain't even listening. Okay, we're going to see after all these motherfucking people. You let all these motherfuckers.
Accidental police shooting by an officer just 2 months on the job. Newly released video tonight showing an officer struggling with the driver when that rookie officer then came to his aid, mistaking her gun for her taser. Tonight she is facing a felony charge in Kansas, and here's ABC's Adrian Bankert.
It all started with a routine traffic stop.
The reason I stopped you, not wearing your seatbelt, okay?
Man!
In Lawrence, Kansas, police officer Ian McCann pulling over Akira Lewis last May, suspected of not wearing his seatbelt.
You gonna stop me for a seatbelt?
Yes, sir.
Lewis refuses to comply and is heard shouting that he's been singled out. He demands to speak to a supervisor.
You're about to go to jail for a seatbelt violation. Are you really wanting to do that?
Officer Brindley Blood then approaches the passenger side, and the two officers attempt to arrest Lewis.
Get out of the car.
I'm gonna knock you in your
car.
I'm not getting out this car.
Lewis and Officer McCann struggling. Lewis lands a punch when Officer Blood yells taser but fires her gun. Wounding Lewis, saying expletive, I shot him. Officer Blood was on the force for just 2 months. She tells investigators she meant to reach for her stun gun instead of her firearm. David, Officer Blood resigned in January. She's charged with reckless aggravated battery and is scheduled to appear in court tomorrow. The driver faces multiple charges.
Now, this brother Akira Lewis was pulled over by Lawrence police. Officer Ian McCann, he said for not wearing the seatbelt. And some probably told his brother to pull off, but then he chose not to. So then his brother Akira Lewis asked for the supervisor, but the cop refused. And the cop asked for his license, and he refused until he got a supervisor. So then the cop, Ian McCann, eventually opens his door, even though he told him not to. They literally call it a crime for us not to listen to them, but it's perfectly fine for them to ignore you. Now, they tried to say this brother Akira Lewis was attacking the cop, when clearly the cop instigated. He opened the door, he put his hands on him first. He was going to try to manhandle him, But when he tried to pull him out, they started to struggle. And the brother did warn him he was going to knock him in his head if he tried it. And of course, his brother started getting the upper hand. That's why they always have to attack us in numbers, even when they have weapons. 9 times out of 10, in a fair matchup, one-on-one, it won't end too good for them. But they realize the power in numbers, and we have to realize the power in numbers. When we have enough numbers on the same page, we are powerful. Now his backup, who was a female cop, Brindley Blood, she tried to get involved and help the other cops. Now this slow white woman says she meant to pull her taser, but ended up pulling her gun. And then she shot this brother at point blank range in his back. Now she was only on the force for 2 months until she was allowed to resign, just in case she wanted to be a cop again somewhere else. But she did get charged, but the judge eventually dropped the case.
New video shows a dangerous confrontation between police and a suspect, and it ended when an officer opened fire. That officer now faces charges, but she claims it was all a mistake.
41 Action News reporter Dia Wall joining us now. So Dia, explain what happened to us.
All right, guys, a seemingly standard traffic stop last May turned dangerous when a driver refused to share his information, then attacked an officer. That's when a fellow officer pulls her weapon and fires. Now, new video obtained by 41 Action News today shows it all happen. It happens in a matter of seconds. Lawrence police pull Akira Lewis over for not wearing a seatbelt.
Closer.
That escalates into one officer getting attacked.
Look how quickly he takes control of that officer. Look at it. He body slams him to the ground, and now he's punching him.
Seconds later, the other officer, Brindley Blood, shoots Lewis.
Based on what I saw here, I can make some critique, but I don't see this as criminal.
The ACLU of Kansas disagrees in a statement calling the officer's conduct, quote, an unnecessary and excessive use of force.
This is not a matter of someone being shot because they did not have on a seatbelt. This is a matter of someone being shot because he started an assault against a police officer.
Now, a judge will determine if Blood will stand trial for aggravated battery, a felony. The prosecutor claims the officer was negligent when she opened fire. Blood maintains she meant to use her taser, not her gun.
This is not the first time we've heard this situation. And if this is a problem that does recur throughout law enforcement, maybe we need to revisit how we train them, how we carry the taser.
In his experience, former FBI special agent in charge Michael Tabman believes this comes down to a simple question.
What was her intent? Her intent was to protect herself, which was reasonable at that time.
Officer Blood resigned in January. She now faces charges. The judge is expected to render her decision on whether or not this goes to trial later this week.
Now this judge, Peggy Kittel, got on code right away, ruling that evidence didn't show this cop Brindley Blood acted reckless. And then she dismissed the case without prejudice. Of course, the DA said he wouldn't file recharges, but they did go ahead with the charges against his brother Akira Lewis. They charged him with battery against the cop, interfering with law enforcement, driving without proof of insurance, and of course not wearing a seatbelt. They consider you not just blindly obeying cops, obstruction of justice, or in this case, interference with law enforcement. This brother Akira Lewis, who was unarmed and pulled over for a seatbelt, is the only one that got shot and hurt, but he is the only one still facing charges and probably be punished. Meanwhile, in Florida, an unarmed sister, Latasha Walton, she ended up getting shot to death after a traffic stop. So let's see what happened to the sister, Latasha Walton.
To a deadly police-involved shooting that was caught on camera, the driver of a BMW appearing to veer into the path of an FHP trooper who then opened fire. We told you about this story last night. Local 10 News reporter Todd Tonga live now in Northwest Miami-Dade with what we've learned about the woman who died. Todd.
Yeah, Calvin, we have learned that that woman was 32 years old from Pompano Beach. She was the mother of 2 children. FDLE is investigating. This area is now wide open, but you can see all the crime tape still in that trash barrel.
God, yo, boy on his way.
New cell phone video shot by another driver shows an FHP trooper with his gun drawn trying to stop the driver of a white BMW. Another trooper with his gun drawn can be seen at the back of the car. At one point, the car appears to hit the trooper in the front and he falls to the pavement, but gets back up as the car slowly moves forward. At some point, witnesses heard boom, 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 a lot of gunshots, leaving a bullet-riddled BMW and a body underneath a yellow tarp. Family members of 32-year-old Latasha Walton of Pompano Beach say the mother of 2 was the driver shot and killed. They say she was a sweet, caring person who loved her 10- and 16-year-old boys.
I don't agree that they should have killed him or her, whoever it was. I think they should have shot the tires out, but who am I to say?
Heather Romano and her boyfriend saw the whole thing. They also took cell phone video, and you can see FHP take a person into custody. There were 2 FHP cruisers at that scene when shots rang out, and they appeared to box the BMW in, but it is unclear what the traffic stop was for. FHP says only one of the troopers opened fire.
Do you believe that the car actually hit the cop?
I saw the cop fall to the ground. I don't know if it's because he moved out the way too quick because he was going to get hit.
Latasha does have an extensive record of traffic infractions, including a few felonies. Back in 2016, May of 2016, she was arrested for driving on a suspended license, also for reckless driving and fleeing and eluding law enforcement officers.
Now, the Florida Highway Patrol said they pulled this sister over because she was driving erratically. They tried to say she was driving right towards the cops. They even said she hit one of the cops, when you can clearly see the cops were nowhere near the front of the car. But their word is supposed to hold more weight than video evidence, when the video clearly shows this fool tripped over the curb, not hit by a car. But the police said that made the cop fear for his life. Ronald Melendez Bonilla opened fire, the only one that opened fire, and he shot into a car with other passengers and hit this sister at least 6 times. And even though they're supposed to be investigating themselves, the police are already caping saying he feared for his life.
Nationally known civil rights attorney is now calling for a federal investigation into a deadly shooting involving a Florida Highway Patrol trooper.
Attorney Benjamin Crump traveling to South Florida today to announce he's calling on Attorney General Bill Barr to look into the matter. Local 10's Leanne Motorhorn is live with more on this. Leanne.
And the shooting happened a week ago today, just feet from where I'm standing. You can see, unfortunately, the bus is blocking it right now, but right behind it is where the vehicle eventually came to rest. There's now a memorial in its place. And we know that the family has hired Benjamin Crump, a very high-profile civil rights attorney, to head up this push. They would like to see a federal investigation into this shooting.
We can't give her children their mother back, but we will give them the justice they deserve.
Family members of Latasha Walton overcome by grief. This after the 32-year-old mother of 2 was shot and killed by a state trooper during a traffic stop at the Golden Glades Park and Ride a week ago. Now, with the help of attorney Benjamin Crump, the family is appealing to the U.S. Justice Department to investigate the shooting.
All parties concerned here seek one thing, and one thing only: a full, fair, and complete investigation by the Department of Justice.
Cell phone video shot by another driver shows Trooper Ronald Melendez Bonilla with his gun drawn, trying to stop Walton behind the wheel of this white BMW that was reported to be driving erratically. The video shows another trooper behind the car, and then Melendez Bonilla falls to the ground. FHP suggests he was knocked over by the vehicle and then was forced to fire, but Crump and the Walton family dispute that.
The car did not hit him. He fell over the curb.
I got so much pain, I feel numb, like it's hard to live without her.
The BMW was left riddled with bullets, with Walton's body beneath a yellow tarp. They say there was no justification for the shooting and want justice to be served.
You could have shot out the tires. You are trained to do other tactics. You don't have to go to the extreme. You don't have to do that. Why?
Now, this sister Latasha Walton doesn't really have a criminal record, so they had to go out of the way to bring up traffic infractions. They had to bring up she got caught driving without a license before, even though that has nothing to do with this case. And nothing she did is punishable by death. But they don't care, men, women, children. And there could be video evidence that contradicts their story, but we're supposed to take their word. Now, it shouldn't take so much of our blood being shed for us to get on code, but far too much of our blood has been shed. At some point, enough has to be enough, and we have to realize we are the only people that can stop it. And this time when we build our institutions, we have to be ready to protect it because they are coming. And when we finally realize we're all we got, then maybe we'll start protecting each other because nobody but us is going to do it.
These individuals cannot be denied the power of broadcast media.
One write-in candidate's campaign ads begin and end with a disclaimer.
Hey, white man.
Fraser Glenn Miller urges white people to unite and, quote, take our country back. We asked the write-in candidate why his ads didn't say much about him or his platform.
Well, I give my website.
And that's where people can go and learn my positions on all the issues, and I also give my phone number where they can call me.
Phones aren't ringing off the hook at the radio stations Miller paid to play the ads.
Our audience has been through this before.
KRMO and KSWM radio station president Dwayne Gandy says in 2006, the FCC was clear on how to handle Miller's ads.
We would have to play them or be in danger of losing our license.
This year, he says, conflicting advice. The Missouri Broadcasters Association asked the Attorney General to rule if Miller is a legally qualified candidate. If not, the FCC rules don't apply.
I've contacted the state's Attorney General, and I've demanded that he arrest them for deliberately interfering in my constitutional rights.
Now, I'm not going to get too upset against somebody making racist remarks because that's their personal problem. Now, when you start inciting people to harm me, or people who look like me, or people who are Jewish, or people who are Muslim, then that's a violation of the law.
Some Kansas City radio stations are donating Miller ad money to the NAACP and Jewish organizations.
The next time the word redneck is stated on their radio program, that they donate the proceeds to the Ku Klux Klan.
This gentleman has probably got more than, got a lot of free publicity associated with these latest developments, which is probably what he wanted to do.
Black Student Union at K-State holding an emergency meeting. This after an African-American student's car was painted with racist remarks. New at 6:30, 41 Action News reporter Belinda Post talked with a student who says the atmosphere must change on campus and in this part of the country.
The Black Student Union says it'll be talking about how to stop racism on campus, and that's because there have been 4 racist incidents in the Manhattan area since April.
I was really disappointed and angry, so angry my blood boiled.
That was Allie Asplin's reaction when she saw a car with racist remarks written all over it. Things like "date your own kind" and "die," not to mention the N-word painted on the car repeatedly. Riley County Police say it happened early this morning, a few minutes away from campus.
In all honesty, I wasn't 100% shocked.
Just 2 weeks ago, a racist Snapchat outraged students. It showed 2 people in white raincoats with the caption, "Newest members of the K-State Cool Kids," spelled with 3 Ks. Asplin wants K-State to crack down on cases like this.
The administration simply apologizes. They don't take any kind of appropriate stance on it. And because it happened off campus, they're not liable.
KSU posted a release of what happened, telling anyone to call police who had any information. There's a $1,000 reward from Crime Stoppers. Meanwhile, Asplin and other students wanted to start a GoFundMe page to pay for any damages, but the victim declined.
That kid really didn't deserve what happened. Again, within the middle of midterms and everything going on.
Police say that this is still early on in the investigation, but they could charge it as a criminal threat, and that's because the word "die" was painted on the car.
Man of my business. Eating some oatmeal. How you doing?
You got a room out here?
Yeah.
Which one?
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Because you're on the lot, and I don't know if you have a room.
I got a room.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you which room you're in. Okay, you got your ID?
Mm-mm. What are you bothering me for?
Do you have your ID?
Yeah.
Okay, can you grab it, and I'll let you know everything? Okay, can you take it out and pass it to me?
No. If you're not bothered, if you don't have a reason, I'm not passing you my ID.
I do have a reason.
For what?
Once you get it, I'll let you know.
What?
Go ahead and grab your ID, and then we'll go from there.
Let me show you one more card before you want to continue to fuck with me, alright?
I didn't curse at you. There's no reason to curse at me.
I ain't cursing. I'm angry. Let me show you one more card so you can go ahead on about your business.
I don't know what that card means. You can go ahead and pass me your ID.
There you go.
No, ask for your ID.
That's me.
You can pass me your ID when you pass me that.
I won't. There y'all see me showing him my ID. That's all my information about me right there. Anything he want to ever see about me right there. DCJS. Right there. Even social security card if you want to see. See all those documents? This man had no reason to be bothering me. I'm sitting in the car in the middle of the night eating my food, not bothering nobody. Just came from McDonald's, eating my food. Sit there, Richmond. He been knocking for about 10 minutes. Strapped up like a bodyguard in this bitch. I don't give a fuck. Who gonna check me? Nobody. Not this no life ass fuck. He just gonna stay right there knocking for the rest of his life. His partner done went over there and set his ass down.
Mr. Williams, what room you staying in, man? Mr. Williams. Permit? Yeah. What room you staying in, man? Mr. Williams? Mr. Williams?
I'm not talking to y'all. If y'all want to...
You have to crack your window again like you did. What'd you say?
I'm not talking to y'all. Y'all have no reason to be talking to me right now.
So why did I come over here and talk to you then?
Because you've been a police officer.
That doesn't make sense.
That's what y'all do.
You never met me before. You don't know what I do.
I don't care what you do.
You don't have to care. You just don't know. What room you staying in, Mr. Williams? We've been gone by now. I don't know why you're acting.
You still gonna be gone. I don't give a fuck. You can stay in for the rest of the night. That's not gonna make or break me.
You don't want to talk to me, correct? Correct? What room you staying in, Mr. Williams?
These niggas hate that shit. Look at these niggas, Richmond. Look at these niggas. They hate this shit. They hate it.
What room you staying in, Mr. Williams?
And I just be chilling.
You got a firearm in the car, Mr. Williams?
Plenty.
Plenty?
Dozens.
Hmm?
Dozens of firearms.
Okay. What room you staying in, man?
Don't worry about it.
You on the lot?
I'm ready to go to the room as soon as you get out of my face.
What room you staying in?
You can see me go to it as soon as you get the hell out of my face.
Am I?
You probably do if you sit around and wait in the parking lot.
Oh, sitting waiting in the parking lot.
Yeah.
That's a little different.
See them wait patiently.
I'm sorry, what? So now you want to talk? So now you want to talk? Good, yes or no?
I like my new phone.
You do, obviously.
local organization claims racism within DPD is a much more widespread issue than just one isolated precinct. The claims come in a new report delivered to City Council by the Coalition Against Police Brutality. Larry Spruill got his hands on the report. He joins us now live from Detroit Police Headquarters downtown. Larry.
Good evening, Devin and Karen. This is that 7-page report that organization presented to City Council. It outlines racism and several other issues here within DPD. And now they want City Council to confront Chief Craig.
We believe that racism existed more than the 6th precinct. We believe it's throughout the department.
It's a bold statement, and Chris White with Detroit Coalition Against Police Brutality tells me the organization stands behind it 100%. That's why they addressed Detroit City Council with 3 recommendations after Chief Craig mentioned racial issues within the 6th precinct. The organization is urging the council to call a public hearing on police misconduct in Detroit. They are calling for a full audit of the Detroit Police Department, not just the 6th precinct, and they also want City Council to question Detroit Police Chief James Craig about his rationale for dismissing the findings of the CORE, or the Committee on Race and Equality report. White tells me the report reveals a climate of racism, a corrosive culture within DPD, also includes 23 recommendations to fix these issues.
When the report was released that revealed that racism was widespread, the chief dismissed the report as rumor and innuendo. Our position is, had he taken the recommendations of the report, 23 which were made, and began implementing them, what happened with Ariel Moore would not have ever happened.
And I did reach out to Chief Craig and DPD. A spokesperson for his office tells me that he did not dismiss the CORE report. It just was simply that there wasn't enough information to validate those claims. Now, as for an audit on the whole entire department, they say that Chief Craig says, as of right now, he does not feel that the department needs a full audit for the whole department right now. We're live at DPD headquarters tonight. Larry Spruill. Local 4.
Well, Larry, has the group had a chance to talk with the chief directly about this?
And Devin, I asked the group, did they actually speak with Chief Craig about this report? They tell me not right now. They haven't got a chance to, but they are looking forward to that meeting. Meanwhile, they say Chief Craig knows how to get in contact with them as well.
Tonight, a South Florida family is outraged by this image right here and others. They say North Miami Beach police used it and the images of 5 other minorities as targets during weapons training.
People that are out there supposed to be protecting us are using us as target practice.
The department conducting that training says it has halted the practice for the moment, but the family questions why officers were ever firing at targets with images of real people. Now, in this case, all of them were African Americans.
And the family says it shows a lack of sensitivity, especially now when relations between police and minorities across the country are so tense.
This is where the controversy comes in. 6 minorities down here who are depicted. These are the photographs that were used out here. And this particular picture right here, amazingly, this man right here, his sister, showed up on the weapons range.
And I was like, why is my brother being used for target practice?
It was here on the Medley Range last month when the targets were used in training for North Miami Beach Police Department snipers. Shooting range records show that after the police left, the Florida National Guard came in. That's when the guardsmen saw what police had left behind.
They were all black males.
Among the photos, her brother Woody's mugshot, taken 15 years ago.
There were like gunshots there. And like I cried a couple times.
And she said, oh my God, they use you as target practice. The picture actually has like, bullet holes in, one in my forehead and one in my eye. I was speechless. I'm being used as a target and I'm not even living that life according to how they portrayed me as, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a career man, I work a 9 to 5.
This indicates North Miami Beach Police Chief J. Scott Dennis defends the department's use of actual photographs, saying the technique is widely used and the pictures are vital to facial recognition drills.
Our policies were not violated. There is no discipline that's forthcoming from the individuals regarding this.
The chief says the fact that the targets were all African American did not mean there was any racial profiling.
As we utilize a an array of pictures, and we'll have 6 pictures of people that look very similar. We have an array for black males. We have an array of white and Hispanic males.
However, he says he is disturbed by the use of this particular photo.
What we are very, very concerned about is the event that occurred here, because it happened to be someone that was arrested by this agency. That individual would be somebody that would be on the streets of North Miami Beach.
We spoke with federal and state law enforcement agencies and 5 separate police departments here in South Florida who have SWAT and sniper teams. Each told us that they only use targets coming from a commercial vendor and never fire at photos of real human beings, ever.
Automatically in his mind, he's going to think target, target, target.
So they're seeing them as criminals before they even get a chance to I surrender.
Now, the police chief says that the sniper team has minority officers on it. He says his department will resume use of the human image targets after it expands the number of images in its inventory. He also says his men will not be using any booking photos from suspects they have arrested. Now, lastly, he says he's going to direct his officers to remove these targets after they use the range.
So you can't take my order. You won't understand what I'm saying?
One woman's frustrating trip through the drive-thru has gone viral on social media, and it's sparking a conversation about language. That driver is visibly upset because the employee at a Taco Bell drive-thru in Hialeah didn't speak English. We spoke with that driver, and Taco Bell has taken action. Local 10 News investigator Jeff Weinseer is on this story. He's live with the details. Jeff.
Laura, you're about to see it yourself. A Taco Bell employee refusing to take an order, actually telling a customer to go to another location because that order wasn't placed in Spanish. Take a look.
Nobody here speak English. Nobody in the back speak English. No.
At this Taco Bell drive-thru, no Spanish, no service.
Excuse me, I'm trying to order food and
no hay nadie que hable inglés.
Alexandra Montgomery thought it was a joke and pulled out her camera.
Okay, but I want to order food.
No hay nadie que hable inglés. Te puedes mover,
that
por
doesn't
favor.
make any
no hay
sense.
nadie que hable inglés.
You're not making any sense.
Okay.
You don't have a manager here?
En su casa durmiendo.
The annoyed Taco Bell employee says the manager is home sleeping.
She was replying to what I was saying in English, but she was replying in Spanish. So it's like, okay, I think you understand what I'm saying.
It was 10:30 Wednesday night. Montgomery went to this Taco Bell at 785 East 9th Street in Hialeah. The employee tells Montgomery that this is Hialeah, to move on. There are cars behind her, and even gives her the address of another Taco Bell.
That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't mean nothing because this is Hialeah, but this is America.
Two other Taco Bell workers approach the drive-thru window when they hear the altercation, but no one helps Montgomery out.
You understand what I'm saying? So if I say I want a number 6 on the menu, you can put that on the computer and take my order. Don't tell me you can't take my order because you don't speak English.
We went to Taco Bell today. You speak English?
Yes.
I can order in English, right?
Yes.
What happened the other night?
No comment.
No comment.
I'm not mad or anything, but I just feel totally disrespected.
And in a statement to Local 10 News this afternoon, a spokesperson for Taco Bell said, quote, "This does not meet our customer experience expectations. We have worked quickly to resolve with the customer to ensure this doesn't happen again." Lori Calvin, no one here will tell us if that employee that you saw in the video still has a job today.
Friends, we have enough humans on the planet. We don't need any more humans. It is not okay for women to have babies and stop contributing to the process. We don't need children. If you find yourself pregnant, there are options and you can have an abortion. No babies. Cut off the baby factories. Trump is going to go exactly down the road, probably as fast as possible, into what Obama calls the worst possible outcome, which is widespread famine, widespread drought, civil unrest, total collapse of social structures.
That's true.
You keep going up and we'll start pumping up dead children behind you saying, follow that bird, follow.
Oh, I think that's a good use of the
follow the soul who's going up.
That's true.
Leading a large children's crusade of refugees.
Yeah, that's true.
A caravan of children.
Going upward.
Dead children going upward. The warmongers are writing history for this country, or those who believe a diplomatic solution would be the way to go are writing history for this country.
And they'll go away.
Or maybe I'll forget about it.
Maybe I'll forget about it and then I'll feel better and I can sleep.
Especially if I take my pills
Well,
to
now
sleep.
I absolutely going to take my pills.
All you need to do is shut the fuck up and leave them alone. Who gonna make me shut up? Who gonna make me shut up? I will if you don't shut up. What you want to make? Oh! 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 Kill! Kill! Kill!
All right, and we back on the forecast. And I want to say RP to the brother Tashii Farmer, to the sister Latasha Walton. At the end of the day, there's no way around it. We're going to have to take control of our own destiny. We can't depend on anybody else. They built their systems to protect them, not us. And you can follow the rules all you want, but they can change the rules or make them up as they go along. And they'll continue to move the goalposts until we start following our own rules. We can't keep taking casualties. We need our own. We need to educate ourselves, educate our children, support each other at every opportunity. If your brother or sister gives something of value, support them, and it'll come back around. They've gone out of the way to instill a poverty mindset into us. We have to break out of that. We have to be willing to spend with each other, and we can build empires quick. Our ancestors had no choice but to support each other, and they became millionaires. And in reality today, we still don't have a choice. We only have the illusion of inclusion. And at the end of the day, we only really have ourselves. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Sometimes they try to block the message, but they can't. And as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're going to keep falling for anything.